Not yet learned your lesson?
This time, Fenlong, I came ready.
Ready to lose again?
Welcome to the relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. The continued fallout of this weekend's melee at what was the Rousey versus Carano card. The after party, really, where Claressa Shields took it upon herself to put hands on Alicia Baumgartner, and people's reactions. Guy who goes by the name Hefe said, Baumgartner is one of the worst kinds of people. Antagonize and threaten others. Then, when said person smacks the fuck out of you, you now play the victim and snitch? Is this the world we live in now? Not exactly. I wonder if this Hefe person ever stopped to ask himself, what was Claressa doing there at all? Because she's not on good terms with most of the people at MVP, Alicia Baumgartner least of all, but she's always trying to occupy the same spaces as her. Another Twitter user who goes by the name Spicy Canela, another Claressa Shields apologist, said, don't cry wolf when you're in her face talking about whooping her ass. Alicia wasn't in Claressa Shields' face, Claressa was in hers. Be about that life. I'm really over Shields, always at MVP events, talking to the opposition anyways, people not even buying tickets to their events. What the fuck is she talking about? They generated $2.2 million in ticket sales. Now Jake Paul and MVP are talking about banning people? You know, this broad is an airhead. I've minced words with her before about this same subject. Yes, they're banning Claressa Shields. What do you expect them to do? She's not one of their fighters. They don't promote her. Why is she always at their shows? And now, why is she at one of their after parties causing a ruckus? You know that none of that shit would have happened if she didn't insist on being there. But you want her to be the victim. That's what I took away from our back and forth discussion on the subject many months ago. She wants Claressa to be the victim. She wants her to be the innocent one. She posted this video of Jake Paul.
Because they didn't headline the card. What's your response to that?
My response is not directly to that. It's more of a response to who she is as a person, which is a bitter, jealous loser. And no one likes her. Like, the best thing that she should do for her brand is to not talk and just fight. And, like, people would maybe get behind her. But she's like basically a child who grew up into an adult body and is just like a fucking cringe loser.
I mean, I wouldn't say loser. She win everything.
No, but you can be. You can win accolades. You can win accolades, but still be a loser. I mean, it's like, look at Eddie Hearn. Exactly, like, same shit. So, like, at the end of the day, I wouldn't respond to like her claims because anything out of her mouth is just bullshit.
But sorry to answer that point in terms of that specific question.
Right.
The Spicy Airhead posted that video and said, Jake Paul and MVP Promotions have been targeting Claressa Shields. They want to be known for women's sports and putting women's sports on a pedestal, but how can you do that when you keep targeting and belittling Claressa Shields every chance you get? She's the one that was belittling their show and their viewing figures for the Taylor versus Serrano rematch. What the fuck are you talking about? That's what that was a response to, Airhead. That's what that video was about. But the Spicy Airhead continued, how can you do that when you keep targeting and belittling Claressa Shields every chance you get, Jake Paul, MVP, and its athletes, antagonize Shields every chance they get, and now they're the ones suing her? No, they're banning her from attending their events. I mean, if they treat her as badly as you say, why does she keep showing up to their parties? If we're talking brands, Baumgartner suing Shields for throwing hens is super weak. Baumgartner is fun, talented, and talks a lot of shit. Now she can't take a little heat from Shields when they are both surrounded by bodyguards? You know what's super weak, Spicy Airhead? A fat, balding broad taking a cheap shot at a smaller woman when there are security guards between them. Because that's what happened. That's what Claressa did. She took a cheap shot when there were security guards between them, but the spicy airhead asked, "What sport are we talking about? Throwing hands is what they do for a living." Yes, moron. That's what they do for a living, and that's what you don't do in the VIP section of an after party. Alicia didn't challenge her to a street fight in the VIP section of an after party. She challenged her to a boxing match because they're boxers. You understand that, right? And you also understand that the video that you posted of Jake Paul calling Claressa Shields a loser is from immediately after Taylor versus Serrano 2, where their beef started long before that. And she's the one that started it. The video the spicy airhead posted is from 2024, whereas the beef between Claressa and Jake begins in 2020, immediately following his win over a basketball player in Nate Robinson. He knocks that guy out so that the following morning Claressa Shields can take it upon herself to threaten him, take shots at him, vow to beat the shit out of him. But you knew that already. And you know how I know you knew that already? Because I told you this already, and you disregarded it. Your response to what are these matters of fact was, well, she's the GOAT, and she can do whatever she wants. Not anymore. She can't clout chase MVP's shows or MVP's fighters anymore because she's banned. The spicy airhead is delusional. She claims that MVP's shows are struggling to sell tickets. They sold over 15,000, generating 2.2 million at the gate. Did Claressa generate 2.2 million at the gate in her last fight? Did 17 million tune into her show the way that 17 million tuned into MVP's? You know the answer. So why are you playing dumb? It's because she is dumb. It's because you have to be a fan of Claressa Shields. The reason they defend her and pretend that she's innocent in all of this, blameless. It's because Claressa's dysfunction is a reflection of their dysfunction, her degenerate behaviors. It's a reflection of their degenerate behaviors, as only degenerates would find Claressa Shields amusing or appealing. You have to pretend that she's this trailblazer, shattering the glass ceiling for women everywhere, when MVP has done far more for women boxers than Claressa Shields ever has. All she is a narcissist. Only person she's trying to help is herself, aggrandizing herself. Stop pretending she's doing what she's doing for some greater good. Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano have opened more doors for more women than Claressa Shields ever has. Jake Paul, who you don't seem to like, has created far more opportunities for women boxers than Claressa Shields ever did. What the fuck, are you, a moron? Yes, because you would have to be to like Claressa Shields. But if you don't like the Jake Paul guy, don't like him. Just don't pretend that Claressa's doing something for the women that they're not. They're creating opportunities for women around the world, and all Claressa's doing is starting trouble. You want to pretend she's innocent, so you post a video of Jake calling her a loser, but how many things has she said before it got to that point? How long did it take before he finally responded to her? I'd wager that the moment she started taking shots at this guy in late 2020, he didn't even know who she was. See, you gotta try to convince people that Claressa's innocent in all of this. You can't tell the story the way it really is, because if you do, it shows she ain't the victim, she's the antagonist. This ain't about MVP disrespecting her, because if they disrespect her that much, why is she at their party? Can't claim it's about misogyny, because who supports the women more than MVP? And you can't claim it's about colorism, because what the fuck does that have to do with you showing up to their after party and causing trouble? The fuck does that have to do with anything? It's more victim culture from Claressa and the idiots, the crash test dummies, that go up to bat for her. Over 15,000 in attendance and 17 million viewers watching at home. That's why Claressa was there, because she knows at MVP, you're gonna get seen. But still too goddamn stupid to get out of her own way. These people actually tried to sign you. That could have been you boxing on one of their events, but you're too stupid. I don't think they should have extended that olive branch to her. For what? Look at how she thanks them. They don't want to be honest about who Claressa Shields really is in all of this, because if they are, she's not the victim, she's the villain. It's not about white knighting it for Alicia Baumgartner. It's about calling a spade, a pattern of behavior we've been watching for years now. She doesn't respect the women that came before her. You want her to be something that she's not. She doesn't respect the women that came before her. That's why she started that beef with Layla Ali, who was already retired for many years when that kicked off. She doesn't respect the women that came before her, and she doesn't respect the women that are here now. She doesn't respect the promotion that's doing the very most for most of the women, giving those women opportunities that she's not giving them. How could she? She needs everything to be about her. She's all about herself. Nobody else. And that's her legacy. And you're the idiots that buy into it, trying to convince us that she's in the right, but they're in the wrong. Maybe in your morbid fucking mind. Oh, she's a jackass, and you're just a bunch of enablers. The sport would actually be better off without her. Men's light heavyweight and cruiserweight news. Bivol versus Benavidez is the fight to make, says Eddie Hearn, which I happen to agree with. If you were able to make that fight, I think that's a fight that for David Benavidez would make people stand up and pay attention. The issue is, I don't expect it to happen, but you guys already know that. They say that talks have already taken place between Matchroom and PBC about a possible fight between David Benavidez and Dimitri Bivol. Though talks having taken place doesn't ensure that the fight will happen, because there were talks for a Haney versus Romero fight. And look at what happened to that. Bivol, 24-1 with 12 knockouts, the world's leading light heavyweight, boxes Michael Eiffert in Russia later on this month in a mandatory defense of his IBF title, while Benavidez stepped up to crush unified cruiserweight champion Gilberto Zurdo Ramirez in Vegas this past May 2nd, as he improved to 32-0 with 26 KOs. Hearn is working on the Russian show with RCC, World of Boxing, and DAZN, but he is keen to make Bivol versus Benavidez before the end of the year. We've been speaking to Louis DeCubas and PBC. We like Bivol versus Benavidez, Hearn said. I think it's a big fight, and obviously, he's got his May 30th, and Dimitri's going to want to be in big fights. He's not going to want to fight guys like Eiffert, who's a mandatory, but he wants to be in the big fights, and I think Bivol versus Benavidez is the fight to make. Perhaps more so than a trilogy with Artur Beterbiev. I think that most people would prefer to see him box Benavidez than maybe Beterbiev afterwards. Artur Beterbiev hasn't fought since their second meeting in the previous year, and I really wouldn't want to see him go straight into a fight with Dimitri, having not had a fight in the interim, a fight in between, as significant ring rust would have collected from the time that he last boxed and the next time. You know that Artur Beterbiev is a consummate professional, not the kind of guy you'll find in the club pounding down Jägermeisters. Not in the club scene, not about the nightlife. I believe that's what allows him to continue to compete at a very high level at a very late stage, a late age in his boxing career. And talking to the people at the PBC, and if it's up to him, that fight happens before the end of this year, after the Eiffert fight, which essentially means that Eddie Hearn is working to put the trilogy on the back burner. Artur's not going to like that. But the fans will. The interest seems to be mutual on both sides, but David Benavidez recently proposed the 190-pound catch weight for the bout, in what's supposed to be an effort to make it bigger? More like he doesn't plan on coming back down. And this is where you have to put on your thinking cap, kids. Why would Eddie Hearn and Vadim Kornilov advise Dimitri Bivol to concede weight to David Benavidez, to box him at cruiserweight, because that's what 190 would be. Anything above 175 but below 200 is cruiser. I ain't doing that. You said that you could still make 175 pounds. You said you'd come back down to 175 to fight me, so fight me. That's the stance I think they're gonna take. They're not gonna want to concede weight to David. For what? Who does that benefit? Though simultaneously, therein lies the dilemma. I've been over this so many times, but I can't stress it enough. A guy who moves up from light heavy up to cruiser and wins 2 alphabet titles isn't likely to drop back down. The drop is too steep, too draining. It's like the boxing world just collectively lost all of its common sense that if David were to come back down, all the speed and all the power, all the sharpness that you just saw in the Zurdo Ramirez fight would not be there. Not on a timeline like that, where you're expecting him to get back down to light heavy before this year is out. For a perspective, Remember what happened to bad Chad Dawson when he moved down to fight Andre Ward? And all he did was move down from 175 to 168. It's only a difference of 7 pounds, and look at what it did to him, where you would now be expecting David Benavidez to drop in excess of 25 pounds and still be able to perform. This is a fight that I've always favored Dimitri to win, just based on styles. What David just did to Zurdo Ramirez, he would not be able to do to Dimitri Bivol because he's too light on his feet, too tricky. That Soviet pendulum step, bouncing in and out of striking distance, throwing punches when he does it, interrupting your rhythm. You can't just come forward on him. It's already been tried. It's too simple an approach. He's going to catch you in between, work around you. There's a lot of talk about David Benavidez's hand speed, and he does have fast hands, but he doesn't have fast feet.
No.
Yeah, sure, if you got a guy who's standing right in front of you like Zurdo was, barreling forward, being there for all those shoe shines, you can catch him. But we all know Dimitri doesn't fight like that. We all know that Dimitri's not only faster on his feet than a Zurdo Ramirez, but he's got faster hands than a Zurdo Ramirez. So, I mean, really use your head when you think about this fight, just based on styles, then tack on the intangibles, like the weight. Drain the pond. To make it back down to light heavyweight, your punch resistance is going to be sapped, so is your strength. You know, I'd actually give David credit if he kept to his word and actually tried to make it to 175. Though if he did, I definitely pick Dimitri to beat him.
Absolutely.
Though Samson Lukowicz has been too careful with this fighter over the years for me to think he's about to make a tactical mistake like having his man drop back down. And that's why I don't expect this fight to happen at the end of the year. They're going to find a way out, a reason to stay put, a reason to stay up there. Maybe David doesn't even fight again this year. Maybe not. And in his absence, maybe Dimitri ends up fighting Artur for a third time? Or what about Callum Smith? His mandatory via the WBO. There is still him to contend with. The bottom line is, I would give David credit if he actually kept to his word and dropped to 175. Though if he does, he loses. And he knows that. This is not going to happen. What might is Dimitri ends up boxing somebody else. I don't know who yet. And at that point, David Benavidez starts urging him to move up. He tells him, when you decide to move up to cruiserweight, I'll be here waiting. All the while, not fighting Jayo Pataya. Perhaps not fighting anybody else in the interim because the cruiserweight division is not teeming with alternatives for David Benavidez to make a paycheck. Chris Billum-Smith and Ryan Rozicki jointly have migrated over to Zuffa. Jack Macy seems to have joined them, and you've already been there and done that with Zurdo. Noel Mikhailian's not available. He's supposed to be fighting Jai in August, so who does that leave for David? And this is why I think he may not fight again this year. He's not going to drop back down to light heavyweight, but there ain't a bunch of alternatives at cruiser either, so he may not fight. So many things in the sport of boxing, so many stories, all boil down to common sense. That's the only real discernment you need. That most boxing fans should understand. The likelihood of David returning to that division is not likely at all. Don't get your hopes up.